I've taught the beginner method on this channel and then how to move on to advanced speed solving methods like CFOP, RU, ZZ, and I've mentioned Petrus, no tutorial, maybe in the future, but perhaps a method even more well known than these that I've never mentioned before. That's right, it's the belt method. If you're thinking to yourself, I've never heard of the belt method, you've actually thought of this method, you just didn't know it had a name. To better understand belt, let's look at CFOP. With CFOP, after you finish the cross, you move on to F2L, which for a lot of beginners is the most challenging step. In this step, you find corners and edges that go in the same spot, and then you do some moves to set them up in a correct position so that when you insert one, the other one goes in with it. So you can solve two pieces at once. Once you finish the first two layers, the last layer is actually pretty simple in concept. During this step, you don't have to think and you just memorize algorithms, which means you can turn really fast and have pre-memorized sequences of moves ready to go. The idea for the belt method is this. Why do we have to think during the first two layers? Why can't we just use OLL and PLL on the top layer and the bottom layer? So all you have to do is make a belt around the middle in the beginning, then you can solve the last layer, flip the cube over, and solve the other last layer. Wouldn't that be less thinking and probably faster? Now, who is the genius that invented the belt method? Actually, fun fact you probably didn't know, I invented the belt method. And so did you, is my guess. And so has every other speedcuber. The belt method often gets made fun of for people inventing it over and over, and because it's just not a good method that you'll find out the moment you try it. If you've invented the belt method, this is how you might imagine it would go. First, you do a few moves to make the belt around the middle, and then you do OLL on one side, and then PLL. And then you flip the cube over and do OLL on this side, and PLL. Now I'll actually scramble up the cube and show you what really happens when you try this method. So first we make the belt. Here are these pieces and then these two. Next, oh no, we have white on the yellow side. Who could have guessed? So I guess we have to add an extra step here, which is where we separate the pieces to their correct size. So let's do that. I can put this with these two to make 3 white pieces in a row and then move them to the bottom while keeping the belt preserved. All right, now looking at the top, oh no, 3 edges are misoriented and that's not an OLL case. All right, that's fine. I'll just do another step where I orient some edges. So I could just like flip 2 of them. All right, now this corner or some corner is twisted and this is not an okay OLL case. All right, that's fine. I'll just do a corner twist case. Now I do OLL and oh no, that's not a PLL case. Okay, let me do that. Now that's PLL, there we go. And then flip over to the other side, and the side is just OLL and PLL. So what looks to be like 5 steps has turned into 9 steps. I remember back in the day of the speed solving forums, this method used to get suggested a lot. It also got made fun of a lot. And of course, it's never good to make fun of beginners for not having enough knowledge, but I don't think that's what's going on here. What makes the belt method unique is it seems good when you think about it, but if you actually try it just once, you will instantly notice how bad it is. So chances are anybody who does pitch this as a serious method that they believe they have invented has not even tried it. Because again, if you try it once, you'll notice how bad it is. Even if you just add up the move count of OLL, PLL, and the other OLL and PLL, that's almost as much as a full CFOP solve. Obviously not as much, but then you have all these steps in between. So no matter how you look at it, it's not a good method. But a few days ago, I tried to get sub 1 on 4x4 with layer by layer. Yes, it was painful, and I think it was 2 years ago that I tried to get sub 10, couldn't do it, but got sub 11 average with 4 look glass layer, which is the first version of OLL and PLL that you end up learning. So I actually practiced with the belt method. Thinking back, that was actually such a dumb thing to do, but that's what I did, so I'll talk about this traumatic experience. First of all, I did not try to be color neutral, even though it would be pretty easy because I'm not trying to be optimal, but even having said that, I did come up with a few algs for this. They're not new algs, just ones I happen to already know, and I repurposed it for the belt method. So after some of these solves, I'll show you what I was actually doing, some of the more advanced things you could do. Again, I have not tried to optimize this, so I'm sure there's better things. This is just like the things I've come up with in the first 5 minutes. Anyway, my first solve was 40 seconds, which is so much worse than I thought it was going to be. After some practice, I was averaging low 20s, and by the end, I managed to get a 16-second solve and decided to call it a day. Just kidding, I kept going, which I regret, and I wasn't able to beat 16. Turns out, during inspection, I have a tough time trying to plan the belt. It's also 4 pieces like the cross, and technically it should be easier because they interact with each other less. I think it should be easier, but this is just something I've never done before. I think the hardest step to get fluent was the piece separation parts, where you get the white and yellow each to their respective sides. I think this was hard because I had to do look ahead across the entire top and bottom. The actual concepts behind the moves I was doing was really simple, but just not being that used to this sort of look ahead really messed me up here, and when I got lucky, it was usually lucky in this step. And for the 3 possible parities, which are edge flip, corner twist, and PLL parity, those ones I could do just fine because I came up with alex to use for them and I could recognize them pretty quickly. So unlike 4x4 layer by layer where I could just turn really fast and keep going, this was way less fun. But then of course, now I'll show you the method I was using. If you want to try it for yourself as a challenge, see how good you can make the belt method and see how fast you can get with it. But even if you see what I have to show you, I'm sure you can improve on some of this. The first thing I do in the belt method is make the belt around here between the white and yellow centers. So I can put this piece over here, this one here, and this one here. After the belt, I do separation for edges, so putting the white edges on their side. Here there's one white edge among the yellows, and it's the yellow center, so this belongs on the other side. So I find the edge that's yellow on the other side, and then I put this one in here. Now, if you want to be optimal, you can do it like this. Put this one in here like this. But I've mostly just been using rotates to the front and do m'U2M, just because I'm not fast enough to take advantage of optimal things. Next, I do separation for corners, so these two need to go to the other side. This one needs to go where this yellow one is, so I can put this one in using F2L, which is just any F2L case that involves this edge staying here. So I could do it like this, for example, and that puts this one here while the edge stays. And this one needs to go into here, so I could do it like this. Next, I'm onto OLL, and there are 2 edges, so that's good. I'll just show a case where it isn't. If it was a case like this, 3 or 1 correct edges, then I would do a flip that involves the top and the bottom at the same time. If you know any alg for a 2 flip, you can flip 1 top, 1 bottom, however you like. The one that I choose is this one. And this is just from blindfolded. Then instead of twisting any corners, what I'll do is solve the OLL with 1 corner ignored. So just whatever this OLL looks like, solve it, and then I'll have 1 corner twist or 0 if I'm lucky. I put this corner on the front right, and the yellow can face front or face right. Then I do one of 2 algs I know, again from blindfolded, to twist this. So if it's facing forward, I would do this. If it's facing right, I would do this instead. So it's the same thing, but the D moves in different directions. If I get an impossible PLL here, then there's PLL parity, and I do M2, U2, M2. Then it's a possible PLL. Then I go onto the other side and do OLL and PLL, and this time it will all just be a normal OLL and PLL. Now, if for some reason you wanted to improve on this method, then there are a few ways you could do it. The main problem with this method is I only move 1 piece at a time during the white and yellow separation. To be more optimal, you'd put in multiple pieces at once, and this is something I never plan to do. So if you want to beat me at belt, just learn this and you'll be better. Instead, depending on the case, you can do one of many algs, a lot of which are intuitive. In this example, both of these white edges need to go to the bottom and they need to go to here. So then it's swap here, and you probably know an alg for this. What you could do is like U2, M2, U2, M2, and that does put them there. But if you want it to be optimal, you would do that from this angle, which could look like this. R2, S2, R2, S2. So for this, I'd have to use an even number of double moves to move pieces around. That way I keep the belt intact. So in this case, I can take this and these 2 and put them all in together. So what I can do is move these here and then get these 2 and this all paired together like that, and then just move them down in. So the way you do this kind of depends, because now I have like kind of a bad shape in here, which means I'll have to put in like 1 piece separately here, and then I can put in this, this, and this all together. So like that, pairs them all up, and then insert like this. During edge orientation, I'm sure there are some algs you can do that can flip a lot of the edges at once that allow you to get better OLL cases or to get ZBLLs. Again, not something I plan to think about. I'm just going to keep using my alg that flips 1 edge from each side. So that's about it for this installment of me solving with a method that really isn't that great. I hope this was fun, especially if you came up with the belt method before and now you can see your method come to fruition. if you count a 16-second single as like the full potential of this method. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.